My God, Can Corlia, and first of all, I'd just like to thank deputies for their contributions to the debate on the bill before us today, and I particularly welcome the general expressions of support for the overall objectives of the bill. There were a few issues raised, and I'm going to try and answer some of them now, if I have time, please, Can Corlia. Deputy Kelleher and Murphy referred to the Book of Quantum. At the time of the publication of the bill, the second and final report of the Personal Injuries Commission had not been published, and this report was subsequently published on the 18th of September, and a key recommendation of the report is that the Judicial Council, when established, be requested by the Minister for Justice and Equality to compile guidelines for appropriate general damages for various types of personal injury. When judicial guidelines are in place, it is intended that they will supersede the Book of Quantum. The intention for the future is that the Judicial Council will take ownership of the judicial guidelines for personal injury compensation. The Personal Injuries Commission, in this recent report, note that the development of judicial guidance follows best international practice and will lead to faster resolution of claims as well as greater consistency of awards, which is critical to improving the overall claims environment, and I know that Deputy Brughan raised that as well. The bill providing for the establishment of the Judicial Council is a legislative priority for the Government, and the intention is to make significant progress towards the enactment of the bill by the end of the year. In relation to the PIAB recalibrating the Book of Quantum, Deputy Kelleher made reference to using international comparisons when revising the Book of Quantum and revised the value of damages for the various injury types contained in the book. However, this is not possible as there is no legal basis or mechanism for PIAB to actually do this. Ultimately, levels of damages are set by the court, and this influences the levels of compensation paid throughout the system. Precedents set by the courts are followed by PIAB and the insurance sector. But as I said, the key recommendation is that the Judicial Council, when established, be requested by the Minister for Justice and Equality to compile guidelines for appropriate general damages for various types of personal injury. Just to say, I know that Deputy Kelleher and Deputy Quinlivan have referred to fraudulent or exaggerated claims. PIAB do not investigate fraudulent or exaggerated claims. The purpose of PIAB is to independently assess claims for compensation arising from personal injury sustained as a result of a motor, workplace or public liability accident, and where both parties, claimant and respondent, consent to an assessment. The investigation of fraudulent or exaggerated claims is a matter for the insurance companies involved and the Garda Síochána, and as Deputy Penrose has said, there is legislation covering fraudulent claims. But I do agree with you, the issue around fraudulent claims seems to have accelerated over the past number of years, and it's something that I know is of concern to business owners. And I also know of a business owner who had, I think, 3 claims from the same family within the space of a week, which is not that sort of thing, you know, has to be dealt with. Just in relation to the cost of insurance working group on the cost of motor insurance, at recommendation 26 recommended exploring the potential for further cooperation between the insurance sector and Garda Síochána in relation to insurance fraud investigation. And the second and final report of the Personal Injuries Commission supports the CIWG recommendation and recommends the establishment of a Garda Fraud Investigation Unit, and I'm aware that discussions are ongoing with my colleague, the Minister for Justice, and the Garda Commissioner in this regard. Deputy Kelleher has referred to his private member's bill, the Civil Liability and Court Bill, and this is a matter for consideration by my colleague, the Minister for Justice. Deputy Quinlivan mentioned about the composition of the board of PIAB. in line with government policy to have more board members appointed through the Public Appointment Service, Section 11 removes the ICTU and IBEC as bodies designated under the Act to nominate members to the board. But it will be open to ICTU or IBEC to apply through the pass process when vacancies arise. And seeking expressions of interest for board appointments through the pass process allows for appointments to be made from a greater number of potential candidates with the desired skill sets, which can vary over time depending on the skills available to the board. And again, Deputy Quinlan raised the issue of reserves. And just to say, Section 13 of the bill provides for a reserves policy for PIAB. It also provides that PIAB shall remit to the Minister for the benefit of the Exchequer any monies in excess of those authorised to be retained by the Minister with the consent of the Minister for Public Expenditure and Reform. And the purpose of this section is to implement a recommendation from the Controller and Auditor General received in 2017 that appropriate legislation should be introduced to deal with the excess funds held by PIAB. Legal advice obtained by the Department is to the effect that legislative change is required to enable the board to remit excess monies to the Exchequer. And just to highlight the fact that the bill specifically provides that the Minister will have regard to the operational, the capital and contingency costs of PIAB when determining the sum to be retained. So this means that sufficient funding will continue to be available to PIAB to carry out its statutory function. And the deputies raised the issue of medicals and if there are constitutional issues. So just to say that the independent medical examination is an important part of the board's assessment process, and these examinations are required in order to obtain an up-to-date prognosis on a claimant. So each claimant must submit a medical assessment form from their treating practitioner when they make a claim to PIAB, and this should provide details of the injury sustained and the treatment provided at the time of the injury. However, medical reports received from the claimant's treating doctors and submitted with the application form often involve an examination of the claimant too quickly after the accident for a recovery to have occurred, or for the doctor to advise when the recovery would be expected. Therefore, an independent medical examination is arranged with the doctor of the appropriate speciality from PIAB's independent medical panel. So this bill was drafted, just to say, in consultation with the Office of the Attorney General, and I know that it has to, obviously, it's important that it operates within the Constitution and that we don't take away or remove from people their constitutional right to go through the court system. So I just want to say thanks again for all the contributions, and I look forward to working with the deputies as I bring the bill through the next stages. And I look forward with your continual engagement on what is a very practical and a very important piece of legislation. Gura maith agat.